Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishvotpattyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Ratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om, salutations to all. So we saw in this fifth canto that Jada Bharat, he was asked by the palki bearers of King Rahugana to support, to join them and to carry the palki, because one of the palki bearers had suddenly gone missing. Jada Bharat took it up and he was walking in such a way that being very careful about the ants or any other beings on the earth, they don't get crushed under his feet. So sometimes he would jump, so the palki would, it will topple, or not topple, it will be imbalanced. So this Rahugana, King Rahugana, got very angry, and once he taunted him also, but Jada Bharat did not change, and so he gave it back to him, saying, I am the master, you are the servant, I will beat you, and all that. At that point of time also, Jada Bharat did not react at all. And he thought to himself that this king is going for getting Brahma Vidya. He is going to Kapil Muni's ashram. And with so much of arrogance, if he is going there, this Brahma Vidya will not, the Rishi may not even give the Brahma Vidya, and even if it is given, he will not be able to absorb it. So, with that intention that he wanted to ensure that Rahugana becomes an adhikari, Jada Bharat, he tells the king, and we saw that how he gives one uh, reply to the questions, to the things that the king has said. So when the king said, that you appear to be fatigued by carrying the palki alone for such a long time and distance, that was the taunt that the king made. So Jada Bharat said, I am the soul detached from the body carries the load, and the fatigue does not belong to me. Then he had said, you are old, not very strong. So he said, body's designation, this the age, the gender, and this fatness and thinness and all these, they don't apply to the Atma. I am that Atma. His identification is with the self. Then are you dead in spite of life within your body? So he says everything that is material anyway has a beginning and an end. That is the nature of the material things, and body is made up of the 5 elements. It will have a beginning and end. It is anyway Jada Vastu. Do you not know that I am your master? So he says master and servant is, the differentiation is all temporary and is just for vyavahar. It is not meant for, it is nothing real. The Lord can make anybody into a master and into a servant, transform them anywhere, anytime. And the king had said that, you are mad and I will punish you. He says, I am self-realized. Even if I am mad, the punishment is of no use. You will beat the body. What will it do to me, the Atma? Nothing it will do. And if you beat the body anyway, it will get injured. It will not be able to walk in a steady way. Then the palki will not be carried anyway. properly. So with great sense of equanimity, compassion, Jada Bharat answered Rahugana. Rahugana realized that this person is not an ordinary person. He is somebody who is a jnani, who is a realized being. So immediately he comes down from the palki, he prostrates, he feels humbled. Now see, this is another quality of Jada Bharat here that is shown. When he was insulted, he didn't feel bad. When the king comes down and offers his prostrations, he is not feeling elated. Why? Because this elation, depression, all these are again attributes of the mind. His identification is not with the mind. His identification is with the Atma, and Atma wise everything is one. So sometimes when we say, equanimity in praise and insult, success and failure, heat and cold, pleasure and pain, literally it may mean this indifference. Nothing happens inside. Like we also go through that. If we play a game with a child, winning or losing, how does it matter to us? It will do nothing to us. Maybe we do something for the child, so we may feel happy if the child is happy, but by itself winning and losing doesn't make us happy or sad. In the same way, vyavahar wise, something may go on in the vyavahar, but Atma is unaffected, and the one who is identified with Atma remains unaffected. Even their mind will not have sometimes any of these reactions. Because that mind also knows that this is unreal. This is a transactional reality that is going on, it is not true. So the mind also doesn't get elated and depressed. Some Mahatmas may show great elation, etc., but that is called as Badhita Ahankar, that falsified ego it is called. The example given for that is like a rope. So that rope which is coiled, if that rope is burnt, if it catches fire, it still retains the shape of a rope and it remains coiled only. But if you try to pick it up, there is no rope, it's charred completely. Only you will find some small particles. The rope has got burnt. So the ahankara of the Jivan Mukta is like that. It's like a burnt rope. Now what will that burnt rope do? You can't tie anything with that burnt rope. It has no, it looks like a rope, but there is no rope there. So it can't do the function of a rope. Same way is the ahankar of the Jivan Mukta. So sometimes one sees Mahatmas expressing some great joy and feeling sadness, all that. Sometimes one sees that there is no reaction from inside. Personal reaction, we mean. And even if this mind, like what we saw earlier, the mind feels compassionate for Rahugana. And so with that bhav, he gives the knowledge. All that also is from the standpoint of the vyavahar only. Personally, there is nothing happening in the heart, in the mind of Jada Bharat. So when Jada Bharat says all this, the king comes down, he is very humbled, and the king further asks some questions. That's where the 10th chapter ended. What were the questions? So he gave an analogy that milk is there. So in a pot, there is rice, there is milk, and when the fire is lit, then what will happen? That fire will heat up the pot, which will heat up the water, and the rice inside will get cooked. So the question that he has is, that this body also is like the pot, and various experiences. So just like the pot gets heated, the body will be affected. The mind inside it is like the water, and the rice is like the Atma. So it will all get affected. So how can you say Atma is not affected by whatever happens to the mind or the body? So that is one question. Then he said, I am the king and I am the master, you are the servant. And he said, Jada Bharat said that those are transactional relationships, and when Bhagwan changes anybody from a king to a pauper or from a master to a servant, nobody knows. So he says, but as a king, I have to do my duty. It may be transactional, but I need to do. Those who are disobedient, I have to punish them. And so I didn't do anything wrong. That's what he meant. And then he said that, so that next one is the same, that I will punish you for your sin, is what Rahugana had said. So Jada Bharat said that even if you punish me, it is no use, and I am anyway the Atma, so no punishments affect me. So Rahugana's query is that if I don't punish you, I will get sin. When somebody engages in their swadharma and their kartavya, their duty, now that will help them to exhaust their vasanas. So what am I supposed to do? So now that's where this 10th chapter had ended. Now Jada Bharat instructs Rahugana. That's the 11th chapter. He starts giving him this knowledge. So he says there, straight away he says, Akovida, Kovida Vadavadan Vadasyatho Natividam Varishtaha Nasurayo hi Vyavaharamenam Tatvavamarshena Sahamananti. See, these Mahatmas who have Vairagya, sometimes they will tell the truth very straight. And if a person is ready, well, it will be a wake-up call. It will be something that will humble the person, transform the person. So here, Jada Bharat said that though ignorant, akovidaha, you are akovid, you are ignorant, straight he told him. Kovida vadavadan, you are talking as though a wise person is talking. And same thing you remember in the Gita, Bhagavan tells Arjun, Ashochanan vashochastam prajnavadanta bhashase. Gata suna gata suncha nanu shochanti panditaha. That you talk the words of a wise man, but you are grieving for those who don't deserve to be grieved for. Meaning those are words of a wise man does not grieve. Next line he says that. Panditaha nanu shochanti. Those who are dead and those who are living, for neither of them the wise person grieves. And you are grieving means your actions and your words don't match up. What you are saying and how you are behaving, they don't match. So here, that similar thing he said, that you are ignorant, but as though you are talking the words of a wise person, and you are in no way best. Na atividam varishtaha. Those who are very learned, you are not the best amongst them. Meaning he is a king, but Jada Bharat is fearless. Either Vairagya brings fearlessness. No attachment to the body, mind, intellect, Jiva Bhava, possessions, nothing. There is nothing to lose. When there is no attachment, then there is no fear. We have fear in our life because we are attached. Somewhere or the other, we get attached to anything. Some person, some object, some situation, our own BMI, we are attached. Now, whatever I'm attached to, I'm scared of losing that. I will become possessive of it, protective of it. My identity I derive from it, self-worth I derive from it sometimes, and also I will go through ups and downs because of all these attachments. So here he doesn't have any attachment. What will the king do maximum? The king can kill him. He anyway is abiding in the Atma, which is deathless, birthless. So please remember, this is not some reckless attitude, or this is not some kind of the with intention to insult the king, humiliate him. It is not like that. It is out of great compassion, equanimity, detachment that he tells him the plain truth. Because Brahma Vidya needs that ego must be bare minimum. When one goes to a teacher and he is going to a teacher, Kapil Muni, then the words of the teacher will create that impact, and this Jiva will realize that I am not this entity at all. So he says, you are not the best amongst the learned people, na atividam varishta. And then he also says that those who are the knowers of the truth, whose minds are absorbed in the highest reality, vyavharamenam nasurayohi. They don't talk about such mundane things that I am the master, you are the servant, I will do this, you must do this. They don't talk all that. Tatvavamarshena sahamamananti. Sahamananti. So he says that um, they Tatvavamarsa, they want to inquire into the truth. So their minds are absorbed in thinking about the truth, not stuck in petty issues. The non-essentials should remain the non-essentials only. Essential should be the most important to us. What is essential and what is non-essential, that Vivek only has to happen first. When we live identified with the body, mind, intellect, then we feel that this is most important, the vyavahara and the people, and why he said like this to me, why she behaved like that with me, what should I tell them back, and all that goes on. The mind goes ruminating over all that. And in that, the essential, which is the inquiry of the truth, bhajans or sadhana or Ishwar Chintan, all that one postpones and one says, no, today I can't do. Deepavali 5 days were so busy, we could not do any other sadhana also. My regular japa also put aside. Why, Swamiji, Vyavahar is so much, we have to go to this person's house, that person's house, and this family, that puja, this friend, that function. I got so tired. Deepavali Utsav is meant to celebrate, no doubt, but main purpose is to do sadhana. That those lamps, if they are not lit in our heart, then rest of it all is mundane vyavahar. How long will that last? As long as the body is there, as long as some karmic connections are there, it will last. After that, it is gone. Our main connection is with the truth, and everything else is a subsidiary for that. To know the truth, it has to be helpful, not to take us away from the truth. So he says the wise people. So you talk like wise people, but your actions are not showing that, because wise people don't act like this. Wise people don't judge others saying you are a servant and don't think that I am the master, and then they may do some vyavahar as per the role, there is no doubt, but their identification is not with that body, mind, intellect, and their mind is thinking about the Atma, and these two can't go together. Being attached in the world and yet thinking of the Atma cannot go together. So if somebody asks, do I have to drop all my attachments? If one wants to know the truth, yes, one has to drop the attachment. There is no doubt in that. How to drop the attachments? There are two possibilities there. One, you can stay where you are and drop the attachments, shift the attitude. Second, if required, one may even withdraw and go be in solitude and live in that type of a intense sadhana. Many factors determine that, but the point is this, that attachments, especially the bhav that I am this body, I am Jiva, and then so much of attachment and identification to the roles, that and the contemplation on the truth can't go together. So, a first point he says that, uh, and those who think that this world is very real and attached to the roles here, for them the absolute truth also becomes very subtle to even contemplate upon, because the mind is still hooked on to many things which are only tangible, perceptible. And so here he says that inquiry into the absolute truth and this mundane discussion, they don't go together. So wise people don't engage in all that, and you are doing that. So you are not wise and you are only speaking as the words of the wise. Then he says that the Vedas, they discuss uh, about heavenly enjoyments, the way to attain them, karma kand, etc. Will explain about all those things. Um, and all the rituals connected with household life, etc. They emphasize on some of these karmas, and through that one will definitely attain the higher worlds, there is no doubt. And those who are identified with this, they have bhoga vritti, they want to enjoy more, they are attached to their roles, etc. For them, this exposition of the truth, the highest Upanishadic truths, doesn't appeal. Many places it will be said. So some of the ritualists who are very convinced that the purpose of the Veda is to do rituals, please the devatas, go to the heavens, enjoy. There is no Ishvara also. Vedic mantras are powerful enough to invoke the devatas, and it will generate punya, and then one will go to heaven. So they are called mimamsakas. They strongly believe that every mantra in the Veda is meant for some ritual. So if you ask them why these Upanishads are there, Upanishad is not telling you to do this some ritual and put some ahuti and invoke some devata. Upanishad is talking about Brahman. They say that is only for chanting purpose. So if you chant those mantras, you will get punya. With that punya, you go to heaven. It is meant only for chanting. If it is not telling you some uh, action to be done, don't worry, they are not redundant. But they are not meant for mukti. The highest mukti is go to heaven. Some of the mimamsakas, they will think like that. Amnayasya kriyarthatvat. Meaning every mantra in the Veda is meant for some kriya. So he says this, that those who are interested, they'll see mimamsakas of those times and materialists of today. There is no difference. One who believes only what one sees, one who believes only in the external whatever equipment, gadgets, and science, technology, etc. And it's not that one should not believe in science, technology, but if one thinks that is the ultimate and everything, that is a limitation. That is not proper clarity. So the materialist believes that what one sees is real, happiness comes from the world outside, and maximum enjoyment comes from maximum comfort. And the purpose of life is to enjoy here and hereafter. So eat, drink, be merry. That's the main purpose now. That's why he says here that those people who are interested in these material activities and they are interested in rituals and all that, the discussion on absolute truth and realizing the Brahman and absolute nature of the self, that doesn't arise only. The bhavana only is not there in their mind. And the so he says that the one who realizes that material happiness is insignificant like a dream, for them this knowledge is applicable. It is not applicable for somebody who is very attached to sense enjoyments. And so that's what he says, that even the utterances of the Upanishads, which are held to be the most sacred, they have not proved adequate to reveal the truth directly to him who is so attached to the heavenly thing, heavenly pleasures and all that. Um, and only when they get vairagya from those things, when they have done enough of these rites, rituals, got some punya, enjoyed some blessings in this life, even gone to heaven, come back, then one understands here, no matter how much we do, we still remain finite jiva only. So one gets vairagya from karma, saying, I have done enough now. What is the main focus, the main purpose of life? Why am I here? To experience fulfillment. How will I get that? Karma is not giving me. That vairagya has to come. Only then this Upanishadic knowledge will make sense. And what Jada Bharat told Rahugana will make sense only then. Otherwise, the buddhi is quite fixated into material things. So it doesn't realize this subtle knowledge. And so he says here next that why do people engage in this type of material happiness? Even though they meet, such devotees like Jada Bharat, etc. Or sometimes we get satsang. There are many people who get enough satsang also, who may be listening to Vedant also. But the attachment to the material thing still continues. So why does that happen? So he gives some reasons. So the fourth shloka he says that as long as this mind has the three gunas and one is attached to those three gunas, see, mind will be functioning in three gunas because that is prakriti. Mind is a modification of that, is a product of that prakriti. So prakriti is three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. So mind will function in sattva, rajas and tamas. Now the issue is that we identify with the mind and think I am going through all that. It is not that mind can be freed from sattva, rajas and tamas. One can go beyond sattva, rajas and tamas through sadhana, means the identification will reduce and completely withdraw, that I am not this. From tamas to rajas to sattva one evolves, and then from sattva one goes beyond. Then when one has gone beyond the sattva guna, then one realizes that I am not this at all. And through that contemplation only one has gone beyond. With a sattvic mind one contemplates, I am not the jiva, I am not this body, mind, intellect. Then one goes beyond. Till then the sadhana is to come out of rajas and tamas. Rajas and tamas will bind, sattva will liberate. But even sattva, if one gets attached to it, is still going to bind. So all the three gunas, the identification has to stop. So that's what he says here, that this mind is contaminated by the three gunas, and his mind is like an uncontrolled elephant. Analogies are given here. So nirankusham is the word. So it is like the elephant which is uncontrolled. And this mind is, it expands pious, impious activities through knowledge, senses of knowledge and senses of action. So engaging through this 10 senses, the mind engages in this world, doing all good, bad, all kinds of karmas, depending on the temperament of sattva, rajas and tamas. And so it keeps a person bound in this material world. Because as long as I'm identified with the gunas, I will feel limited, I will feel as a jiva. And the moment I feel limited, I will be attached to something or the other. Because my nature is unlimited and now I am not feeling at ease. Because I am out of my true nature. That is called disease. That's why it's called bhavaroga. I want to become something continuously. Why do I want to become something continuously? Because my nature is infinite. But I don't know that I am that infinite consciousness. I am not this BMI. I got identified with the BMI. Now I want to get permanent happiness. So I collect maximum people, things and situations and all that. And pleasure only I get temporary. After some time again, emptiness, again seek something else. In that pleasure, pain, all this goes on. And so he says his mind is that which is having these three gunas and identified with that, one goes through all this. Now, he gives in this 5th and 6th shloka the characteristics of the mind. So he says his mind is You see the shloka here, it is Savasanatma Vishayoparatto Guna Pravaho Vikrita Shodashatma Bibhrat Prithang Namabhirupabhedam Antarbahishtam Chapuraistanoti. So, Vasanatma. So, this mind has positive, negative vasanas, and prompted by those vasanas, the mind will act. So, what makes the mind act? What makes each person different from the other? If our minds are made up of five elements, our bodies are made up of five elements, what makes this difference in behavior? Same thing, two people will not respond to it in the same way. Why? Because their minds are different. Why are their minds different? Why are their attitudes different? Because their vasanas are different. Why vasanas are different? Because we saw earlier three gunas. The three gunas, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, they cultivate, they influence the vasanas, and those vasanas are different for each person. So somebody is attracted to something, somebody is repulsed by the same thing. It all goes by the vasana. So this mind is vasanatmaka. Please remember, vasanatmaka here means it is influenced by the vasanas. Otherwise, mind is subtle body, vasana is causal body. Vasana is unmanifest, it will manifest in the mind as a desire. So it has all types of mixtures of certain good vasanas, certain bad vasanas, certain binding ones, certain liberating ones, all that, it is a full combination. And because of that, Vishaya Uparaktaha. So this mind is attached to sense objects and material enjoyments. Guna Pravaha, influenced by the modes. So Vasanatma Vishayoparakta Guna Pravaho Vikritaha. So this mind has different vikritis, lust, anger, greed, jealousy, passion, delusion, intoxication, all these six impurities, what we say. It is subjected to those. Then Shodashatma, it is the chief among the 16 elements, meaning the five senses of knowledge, five pranas, five senses of action, and the mind, 16. This 16 elements are the subtle body. Among the subtle body, the senses, the knowledge, senses of knowledge and action can function only if mind is there, otherwise they cannot function. Their coordination, etc., mind only does. And the pranas also, the physiological systems in the body. So, Shodashatma. Then, Bibhrat Prithak Namabhi Rupa Bhedam. Now, it is this mind which creates different, which takes a jiva from one body to another, from one loka to another in different forms based on its own desires. So, in higher yonis, lower yonis, in higher worlds, lower worlds, this mind will make a jiva go round and round in this one Brahmanda. How many times? So that's why this mind becomes so deep a cause for this transmigration. And that same mind which is attached and causing all this will, when it transforms into Sattva Guna, become the cause of liberation. That will come ahead now. So this mind is having that quality that it will take the jiva as per the desire into various lokas. Sometimes it desires something and it is so happy and feels that, oh, my life is set and all that, and next few moments or days everything goes for a toss. The mind again pulls a person down. Again one feels sad, one feels attached, one feels elation, all that goes on, and then new desires will arise. So this cycle goes on. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So who is making us do that? Swamiji, Bhagavan is writing my destiny. Bhagavan is not writing anything here. It is our purushartha, it's in our hands. How we live is in our hands, and how we do actions, that will create the karma phala for us, and that will create our future, whatever destiny it is. Today's free will is tomorrow's fate. Yesterday's free will is today's fate. It's a product of free will. Fate is not something written by Bhagwan. Gurudev used to say that God has better things to do than write ugly lines on your forehead. So here he says mind is the cause of this. Then Maya Rachitantaratma. This Maya, this mind is like this covering by Maya. So it as though covers the truth. So one doesn't know what is the reality. One is identified with the mind, and one thinks if mind is happy, I am happy, mind is sad, I am sad. One doesn't know that there is a Atma which is completely different. One thinks mind functions on its own. Autopilot, it goes on. And that mind, when it is there active, then the body is able to function. And the mind becomes dull and one goes to sleep. Then the body is, those involuntary activities are going on, breathing and all that, heartbeat and all that. But we are not aware of the world or anything. So this mind is what it is. There is no other reality. So this Maya, as though covers the truth through the mind. That was the fifth shloka. Then he says, Dukkham sukham vyaktiriktam cha tivram kalopapannam phalamavyanakti alingya maya rachitantaratma swadehinam samsriti chakrakutaha. That's the sixth one, Maya rachitantaratma. And further he says that samsriti chakrakutaha. This, because of a discovering, this Maya deceives the Jiva into this cycle, samsriti chakra, cycle of birth and death. And sukham dukkham vyatiriktam cha tivram kalopapannam. So it will create by time, all the different varied experiences of happiness and sorrow and illusoriness and depression, dejection, greed, lust, passion, love, compassion, all that one range of emotions it will go through. So these are characteristics of the mind, and so this mind only makes this jiva wander. In the samsara, many lives this jiva takes, different species, and so this mind becomes the cause of bondage. But the same mind also is the cause of liberation. So he says, Tavanayam vyavahara sadashiva kshetragnya sakshyo bhavati sthula sukshmaha. Tasman mano lingamado vadanti guna gunat vatsya paravarasya. So this mind itself becomes the cause of bondage, mind itself becomes the cause of liberation. The mind which is attached like this is the cause of bondage. Now what is that mind which is the cause of liberation? That will come, but he gives an analogy to explain that how can the same mind which is how can the same mind be the cause of both bondage and liberation? Because they are opposing in nature, bondage and liberation. So how can one thing be the cause of both which are opposite in nature? So the example that he gives is an example which is very contextual as of now, with the lamp example he gives. So what does he say? So he says attached mind is like a lamp when this flame of the lamp burns improperly with a charred wick. The wick is not proper, oil is not proper, then that whole lamp, the wick is not fresh, then that whole lamp will get burnt. It will have the black color carbon soot. A mind which is attached is like that. So he says that this mind is attached to sense gratification. It brings about all this bondage and suffering and transmigration and all that. It is like the lamp in which the wick is not proper. it is charred, and then that burning will not be proper. It will make the whole lamp black, dark. The same lamp, when it is filled with ghee, it is burning properly, there is bright light and illumination, and that lamp does not become black because the proper oil is there which is feeding this wick, and the wick also is a fresh one, let us say. Then the flame will be very bright. So he says that when this mind becomes detached from material objects, then it becomes a cause of liberation. Why he is saying all this to Rahugana now? Because Rahugana asked that question that, this Atma will definitely get affected, like that example that he gave of the fire which is burning the pot, and in the pot is water, inside that is rice, so the rice will get cooked. How can the rice be not affected by it? So he is leading to that, saying that the mind goes through all this, nothing happens to the Atma. And for that he is explaining all this, the background. So he explained the functions of the mind. So 5 senses of knowledge, all these, the eyes, the ears, the tongue, the nose, the skin. 5 senses of action, so the speech, the hands, the legs, the reproductive and evacuating organ. Identified with that, there is aham bhava. I am this body, and these are my people, my things, my house, my property, whatever it is. That aham and mama, my family, my society, all that. Now, identified with this, there are so many countless thought modifications that arise in the mind. So the physical elements or the objects, the nature, the swabhav, the culture, the destiny and time, these are all the various causes which create so many different thoughts, desires in the mind of a person, and they transform into hundreds and thousands and millions. But they all are able to function not by themselves. This entire mechanism functions. Earlier the person thinks that it is mind which is doing all this. This is where the clarity comes, and how Jada Bharat tells him that it is actually the Atma, the witness, the Sakshi, the Kshetrajna which enlivens this. Otherwise this cannot function by itself. And the mind which does not know, that is the mind which is bound. And that is the mind which feels I am this Jiva, so I am master and you are a servant, and all those ignorant notions arise because the mind doesn't know the Atma. So that's why he says here in this 11th one, if you see, Sahasrashaha Shatashaha Kotishascha Kshetrajnato Na mitho na swatasyuhu. Na swataha. It cannot function by itself. It is because of Kshetrajna. Kshetrajna means the mind is called as the Kshetra, the field, and the knower of that is separate from it, is the witness. So knower and known, they are different from each other. Knower can't be the known at the same time. So the knower of the mind, that okay, now anger has come, now greed has come, now love has come, now forgiveness has come, now all those varieties of thought, is hundreds and thousands and millions, they all are able to function because of this Atma which is enlivening. Otherwise we will not know any of these. Hence he says this, he introduces that understanding. They are not able to function by themselves individually nor by their collective power, these 6 factors. Because some people may say individually they may not be able to function, but collectively they will work, this elements and swabhava and culture and destiny and time and karma, all this. He says not by any of them, they actually function by the presence of the Atma. And so, who is this person who is liberated? That person is called the Kshetrajna here. So the 12th shloka is about that liberated person. Kshetrajna eta manaso vibhutihi jivasya maya rachitasya nityaha. avirhita kwapi chirohitascha shuddho vichaste hyavishuddha kartuhu. So that is the uh, description of this liberated jiva. So who is the liberated jiva? The liberated jiva is one who has detached from this false identification with the mind, knows that I am the kshetrajna, I am the sakshi, I am not these thought modifications. And so uh, these thought modifications, they exist, they are made up of maya, they exist from time immemorial, they manifest in this waking and dream state, and they become unmanifest in the deep sleep state. This is all the play that is going on. I am the witness of all these. And so the person who has understood this very clearly realizes that I am one with that Supreme Lord. Bhagavan is a Kshetrajna, the infinite consciousness manifesting in each heart as the witness is the Supreme Consciousness. So he absorbs and he understands that that is the Supreme Truth. And that is the knowledge that now Rahugana is getting from Jada Bharat, because he is not able to see. So even before he went to Kapil Muni, Jada Bharat himself has given him that knowledge of Vedanta. And it is possible that Rahugana has the knowledge of Vedanta and yet he is attached. That's why Jada Bharat starts by saying that, that this mind which is attached to all these material things cannot understand Vedanta. Even if one studies, one will not be able to absorb. So a possibility that Jada Bharat, Rahugana knew Vedanta, but to listen to it in this way after getting humbled will create a very different impact. So he further elaborates that who is the Kshetrajna, which is our true self actually. The characteristics of Atma, the pointers of Atma are given. So it is Atma, it is all pervading cause of the creation, it is Purusha, the supreme controller who is in the hearts of all, who is Purna, of the nature of completeness. Then Purana is the most ancient, the ultimate source of everything. Sakshat, perceived by hearing and direct perception. What we see is a play of that supreme truth. Swayam Jyotihi does not require anything to illuminate, it is self-effulgent. Ajaha, it is beyond birth, beyond death, beyond old age, beyond disease. Pareshaha, Isha, Para means Devata. So he is the controller of all the Devatas also. Then he is a shelter of all the Jivas. When this Pralay happens, all the Jivas go back into whom? Is that Atma which is depicted as Narayana, Mahavishnu. Bhagavan, it is full of, somebody thinks Atma is beyond body, mind, intellect, what a dull state it must be. Says no, Bhagavan it is. All six qualities in full measure. Aishwaryasya samagrasya dharmasya yashasha sriyaha vairagyasya mokshascha shannam bhagaiti ingana. So Aishwarya, glory, yasha, fame, then vidya, knowledge, Aishwaryasya samagrasya vidyasya yashasya shriyah, prosperity, then vairagya, dispassion, and mukti, liberation. Six aspects. In full measure, one who has, that is the Atma, that is Bhagavan, that is the creator. Meaning the self here is the supreme creator, is Ishvara. There is no difference. There is only one false identification with the Jiva here that has happened, that's all. That has to go. So he says that is Bhagavan, that is Vasudeva. Everything resides in that Supreme Lord and present in the hearts of all the beings by his own power and will. All pervasive. So just as the air enters and controls all the moving and the stationary beings in the form of prana, Vasudeva, the knower of all bodies, enters all bodies and controls them. That is the supreme truth. So he tells him about that. And now if this is the knowledge, how long will this jiva go on, coming, going into this cycle of birth and death and taking new forms. So he says that if the jiva wants liberation from this samsara, what should that jiva do? If one wants to realize the kshetragni atma and one wants to drop the identification, what should one do? So 15th shloka is that. In this 15th shloka, he explains, Nayavadetam tanubhrinnarendra vidhuyamayam vayunodayena vimukta sango jitashat sapatno vedatma tattvam brahmati hatavat. So long this person does not do these things, one will keep brahmati, revolving. Meaning we should, if we want to get out of this, then what should be done? One should be free from all this. So what are those things? So now you see here. So he says, one who, until the person doesn't become free from this material desires, attachment to sense pleasures, etc., thinking happiness is in the world outside, depending on things for that so long the freedom will not happen. Why? Because those desires will create further bodies to exhaust the desire. Now, in one life we can't exhaust all desires. So the material desires, attachments, they will create the cause for the next body. So one has to learn to drop them through vivek, not through suppression, by exhausting them and seeing their limitation and rising above them. So one has to do that. One has to become free from this material contamination. Second, this 6 Jita Shat Sapatno, one has to conquer the 6 enemies. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Then Jita Vimukta Sango, Vedatma Tattvam. One has to come to know the truth. One means one has to go to the teacher, learn, reflect, meditate, purify the mind. All that one has to do. Till one doesn't do this, one will not be free from this samsara. So broadly it is 2 instructions. One is detached from the lower, other is attached to the higher. One can't carry the lower and higher together. That is not possible. Especially one wants to attain mukti. At one level we say, okay, continue, because suddenly to give up everything and attachments to the body, mind, intellect is not so easy. So one says you balance it out and continue and slowly drop one by one some of these attachments, purify. It will take time. But as one goes deeper into it, then intensity increases, then one has to let go of the lower to realize the supreme. One can't carry them on together. Attachment and detachment, one can't say I'm 40% detached and 60% attached. No, it has to be 100% detachment if realization has to happen. Otherwise, to that extent, the compromise will happen, attachments will be there, and whatever knowledge I have will not fructify properly. So that is one aspect that he says, that this freedom from samsara will not happen till this. Then it is this mind which is creating all these attachments and covering the Atmalinga as though. And then it becomes the cause of lamentation, illusion, disease, attachment, greed, enmity. So he says that as long as there is attachment to sense objects, the mind will revel in that alone. And so it is very difficult for that mind to come out of samsara. It will continue to experience misery in samsara. And the mind which is attached will even say that it is all right, this is the nature of life, we have to go through all this, we can't leave any of this. Arey, why can't you leave any of this? This is not your nature. No, but we are like this only. Are there not people who say, accept me like this, I am like this, I can't change? Now if you don't accept, that is your problem. Arey, you are not this jiva at all, first of all, point 1. Point 2, even as the jiva, if I have rajasic, tamasic qualities, etc., Bhagavan has given me purushartha, I can change and I can become more sattvic. Now, if I refuse to put the effort and I am so attached to my way of thinking, my way of being, and my way of, whatever, speaking, acting, all that, and then one says, no, no, I can't change, then continue to suffer. People continue to suffer, but they don't want to change. That is the saddest part. Health is going down, but the person will not do exercise. One knows that there is a lot of BP issues, but one still keeps doing things which are, one gets anxious and excited and gets angry and all that. One knows many things, but one doesn't want to do it. That is tamoguna. That is attachment, and that is what pulls a person down. So he says, so long as this person is not ready to drop these, the person will not be free from this samsara. Then, this type of a mind which is uncontrolled, that is the greatest enemy. Controlled mind is the best friend, uncontrolled mind is the biggest enemy. And so, this uncontrolled mind, if it is given a chance, what will it do? It will become powerful and cover the Atma. One will make a person deluded. So now, how to conquer this mind? This is beautiful what comes, the last part of this chapter, in this 17th shloka. Bhratravyamenam tadadabhraviryam upekshya adhye dhitam apramattaha gurorhares charano pasanastro jahi vyalikam swayamatma mosham. This is one shloka which gives the methods of how to control this uncontrolled mind. Three beautiful things he says. First, he says, is upeksha. See the word. Abhraviryam upeksha. Neglect this mind. Upeksha means that, neglect. Oh, Swamiji, neglect means what? We should not listen to whatever the mind is saying? No. Whatever the mind is saying, which will encourage attachment, which will strengthen Jiva Bhav, don't fall for that. Don't think that I can't live without a coffee. Don't cooperate there. Live without a coffee. That's a false notion that the mind has created. That is how it creates dependency on the world outside. I'm talking about psychological dependencies and attachments. I'm not talking about functional things. Don't say that, I have to depend on food to survive. I will stop depending on it. I will not eat food. Food is a basic necessity, eat. But if the mind says, I want this type of food only, now that you drop. I can be happy only if this person takes this decision in their life, chooses that career, marries this person, or speaks to me in this way. Drop all that insistence. That is all trick of the mind. And those thoughts, when they come, he says, upeksha, you neglect those. Upeksha. Then what should one follow? My mind thinks only those thoughts all the time. So the next line he says is, the instructions that the Guru has given, Shastra has given, follow those. Do the sadhana, seva, serve. So he says here, the service to the lotus feet of the Guru. Guror Haresh Charanopa Sana Astro. Guru Haresh Charana Upasanastro. Do the seva of Guru and Bhagwan and dedicate actions to Bhagwan. Do the duties as per the scriptural injunctions, offering them to the Lord, and engage the mind in that. If the mind starts fantasizing about sense objects and I will go here and there and enjoy life like this and then I will be more happy, one may go wherever as per the duty, but one doesn't build those fanciful imaginations and attachments to anything, any person. That is one. So that is how one controls the uncontrollable mind and neglects the thoughts which create more bondage. If we don't feed those thoughts, see, there is one very powerful sadhana is to be indifferent to such thoughts, not to fight them, not to encourage them, just be indifferent. Means don't encourage only. Otherwise, we encourage those thoughts. That if we fight anything, it will become stronger. If we encourage also, it will become stronger. So what is the best way? Neglect. That's why you see many Mahatmas, they don't respond to some of the thoughts that arise in the mind at all. Neglect. Complete neglect. Then it just passes, it just goes, finished. It will not come back again. Because it is limited. Till the vasana is there, it will be there. Once the vasana is over, this will go. So they just allow it to pass. If it is something which is duty, which is as per the Shastra, so holding on to the Shastra, knowing what is right and wrong, and understanding is this good for a seeker to which will strengthen my spiritual sadhana or it will weaken it. If it is strengthening my spiritual sadhana, I will do. If it is weakening it, I will neglect. And which is why the seva of the Guru, the Lord, all that is very important. And how should one do this? With great attentiveness, apramattaha. That's what he says that. Adhyaditam apramattaha. One should do this with great alertness. This is a sadhana by itself. Alertness, be aware of the thoughts and what thoughts are conducive to sadhana, encourage what are not, discourage. Discourage meaning neglect. If one does that, see, all japa, pujas, bhajan, any other sadhana that we do is to create this level of alertness in the mind, the level of sattva guna in the mind, which will also help the mind to have more sattvic thoughts. When we do regular puja, japa and all these sadhanas, the nitya karma, as given in the scriptures, we think that, oh, this will be mechanical or this becomes a discipline that is enforced by the scriptures on us. We don't like to be bound by the scriptures. All that is stupidity, immaturity to think like that. With great attention and devotion, one should do these sadhanas. They will uplift the mind and bring lot of sattva guna. These material thoughts and all that will go by itself. As the sadhana deepens, one feels the joy of it. Automatically, that craving for other things will just go. Even if it arises, one has tasted a subtler joy, one is able to let go of those. But if one has not done that, then one is struggling to give up the lower because one is not attached to the higher. When I put a step on the higher staircase, then only the lower one I can lift and put up, right? Without putting the step on the higher, how will I drop the lower? So I need to put, and which is why he says that, service of the teacher, service of the guru, all that. So beautifully he explains here that worship of the holy feet of the Lord Sri Hari, that is a sadhana part. And he has come, Bhagavan has come in the form of the Guru also. If that Guru has come, then all the more better. Otherwise, worship Bhagavan and he will manifest as the Guru. Then he says that this mind has lot of this enormous strength and it has become uncontrollable. Now, though it is by itself illusory, at the moment it doesn't appear like that. It is controlling us. And so, what should one do? Neglect it. Be attentive, serve the lotus feet of the Lord, worship the Lord, do the daily sadhanas, and worship the Guru, meaning live what the knowledge the teacher is giving. Through that, what will happen? This mind will come under control. So this chapter 11 ends here. Now Rahugana, he gets a certain clarity because the question that he asked, now he understood that the Atma is definitely different and it is mind which is going through all this, and mind is going through all this because of the Vasana pressure. So he thanks Jada Bharat and then he has some more questions. So this conversation goes on some more. Lots of chapters are still there, but we will continue this now in February. I will not be here from now till January end almost, so we will continue in February.
मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति धूम की, मंगल कांति हसनी दसनन की, मंगल मुरली दीना धुन की, मंगल आरती। मंगल बनिक त्रिभंगी हरि की, मंगल सेवा सब सहचर की, मंगल सिर चंद्रिका मुकुट की, मंगल छवि नयन में अटकी, मंगल आरती। पभी अंग अंग की, मंगल गौर श्याम रंग की, मंगल अति कटि पियरे पट की, मंगल चितमणि नागर नट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल शोभा कमल नयन की, मंगल माधुरी मृदुल पैन की, मंगल वृंदावन मद अटकी, मंगल क्रीडन जमुना तट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल चरण अरुण तरुवन की, मंगल करणी भगति हरिजन की, मंगल जुगल प्रिया बावन की, मंगल श्री राधा जीवन की, मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति डोल की, मंगल आरती। मंगल आरती। राधावर कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम्, नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतो यमग्निः, तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं, तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की।
Jyotsna ji, you have a question? You go ahead.
I wanted to ask you in that Diwali satsang where you said to go from sat to sat, whatever the mind and intellect thinks, your action should be according to that. But so often in relationships and with certain people and situations, you think something completely different and you really want to curse, but you speak very sweetly. The mind said, the lips say something which is completely opposite to the feelings. How do you integrate the two then? Because when you meditate, then all that you suppress will come up. Then there's no, you cannot reach that higher level because all those thoughts which you suppress are coming up.
See, when there is dvesha inside our heart, that dvesha has to be cleansed.
Yeah.
Which is where forgiveness comes into play, which is where the empathy comes into play, which is where the understanding comes into play. And if my heart is cleansed of the dvesha that I have for the other person, then my speech and my actions will reveal that. So that is the sadhana of dedicating karmas to Bhagwan also, and also doing this dosha buddhi, dukkha buddhi, understanding what is right, and it's not about my attachment or their attachment. So many of this, they come into play, and then the person integrates. Till that dvesha is there in the heart, if one is controlling that and ensuring that one is not hurting somebody through the words, that is also a part of sadhana only. So that is not disintegration in that context. There one is controlling one aspect first, so that further damage doesn't happen, so that the second aspect I can cover up, I can cleanse the heart of dvesha after that. Otherwise, based on that dvesha, I speak something and I hurt myself, hurt others, and the relationship is strained, and then all that happens. So one has to cleanse the heart, one. Two, if one knows that, one has to accept the person also. If the person is not changing, then one has to decide for oneself, no, to be away or keep some distance or interact very bare minimum, whatever that is, because we can't change other people. We can change only ourselves. So those sadhanas have to be done, those introspections have to be done. And so when we say integration, we mean integration in a positive way, it has to happen. If there is a disintegration in the personality because of certain raga and dvesha, then it is not that if I think that this person is bad, then I speak bad about that person and I act to harm. Now that is not the integration that is required. There I need to cleanse my heart first. And there I have to put efforts to control the physical expression, verbal expression, and then cleanse the mind. So then that real integration will happen. Otherwise, even a terrorist acts out of integration. No, the terrorist thinks that to blow up people, I will go to whatever heaven, and then feels like that strongly, and then acts like that. That is not the integration that one seeks. One seeks the integration of body, mind, intellect for rising above the identification with BMI and seeing the oneness everywhere. And so whatever helps me to do that, that is the integration that we need. And whatever is taking me away from that oneness, we have to cleanse the heart, purify the heart.
So basically, you're saying, Swamiji, one has to learn forgiveness and compassion, use those tools to deal with people who are difficult.
Yeah, and you have to say something to them. Say, there's nothing wrong in saying in a polite way or even in an assertive way, in a non-personal way, without being insulting. One can say what one has to say. It's not that one has to just forgive them for everything that they do. One can express that this is not appropriate, or this should not have been done like this, or whatever. One can explain all that also, but not out of hatred and prejudice and feeling of some aversion and all that. Then that is going to burn us. Dvesha is that which is called as a dvivisha. It is double poison. First, it will poison our heart, then it will poison the relationship. See? So one has to work on that. All right. Hari Om, everyone. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.